system?
Great. So what has happened is the competence-based education program started in 2017, but it had a lot of challenges in terms of the implementation, in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the subject areas that needed to be aligned. In fact, when it came to being, we had 14 learning areas, for example, but it was discovered that these areas are too heavy on the students and the parents, and it was rationalized to 9. So the process of implementation has been navigated and managed as we progress, so that when we discover that there is a particular challenge in the implementation in a particular aspect, then we look at it, go back and see how do we then make it better, make it aligned, how do we strengthen it. So this process has been ongoing. For example, when it was conceptualized, there are 3 levels. There's the primary, and then there's the JS, and then there's the senior school. The junior school, when it was conceptualized, was supposed to be domiciled in secondary schools. But midstream, it was discovered that these students who are in grade 7, 8, and 9 are too young to be able to be moved into secondary schools. So in the process of finding the best way to ensure that these students are learning in an environment that does not affect their mental status, when this administration came into power, and His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, they formed a presidential working party, which was headed by Professor Mnavu, who went around the country to find out from the parents, from the stakeholders in the sector, where should we domicile junior school, this standard 7, 8, and 9, where should we domicile it and for what reasons? 93% of the Kenyans under that particular public participation stated that they should be domiciled in junior school, in primary. So what happened then, there was now a shift from what was conceptualized in domiciling them in secondary schools to domicile them back in primary schools. Of course, that comes with challenges. Where are the facilities, where are the classrooms, what should we do? So when that happened, we are now to come up with programs to ensure that we have enough classrooms to ensure that these students are actually being able to fit in primary school. Remember, we were 844, so we had 8 classrooms in primary school. So transitioning from grade 8 to grade 9 required that you need to do a whole one stream of classrooms. And after the assessment, it was discovered that we need at least 20,000 plus classrooms. And these are the 23,000 classrooms that we're able to do from October 2024 to January 2025, when we were able to transition grade 8 to grade 9, and by January 2025, those classrooms were ready and the students were in grade 9. So the implementation has had its challenges.
Where's the majority of the classrooms? Where have the majority of the classrooms been built? If I were to ask that.
They are built across all the primary schools in the country. But the primary schools that we have, it is not all of them that have junior schools. So the assessment were done and where we had junior schools required to be in a primary school, so that the students can come from 1, 2, 3 primary schools into one that requires a junior school. Classrooms were built there. An assessment was done, and people went around the country using our systems, and we discovered we need that 23,000 classrooms, and partnering with the National Government Constituency Development Fund, the MPs and ourselves, were able to build a total of 23,000 classrooms to ensure that grade 9 then settled in primary schools in their classrooms, and that was done. So my point is, as we've been implementing the system, the CBE, we've had challenges. But every time we get this challenge, we go back to the drawing board and find how do we make it better. So as we sit here today, from grade 1 to grade 9, I can comfortably state that that has been completed successfully, because you've had examinations in the Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment that was done, and these are the students who are transitioning to grade 10. These students who are joining grade 10 now, today, will be transitioning to university in 2029. And in September last year, we had a meeting of all the stakeholders in Mombasa to start discussing how does this transition take place to university. So we brought the universities on board for them to start preparing for this cohort that is in grade 10 for them to be ready in 2029, 3 years in advance, so that when we are reaching there, we don't have those challenges. So what I'm trying to say is that as a government, we are committed to ensuring that this transition succeeds, because the system is in place, it is midstream, we have to strengthen it, and it has to complete the cycle. And cycle will be completed when this cohort joins 29 universities, they do their 3 years, whatever courses they'll take, then we assess where we are. But as we speak today, that process is on top and we are working very well.